In fact, let's go ahead and talk about that, because that is one of the big things. Now, it doesn't come out. We don't have any representation of this yet until the 27th. So next week, we'll be able to try this out inside the PTR itself. So I guess they'll allow us to place. Maybe they'll unlock all heroes and we can fight each other. Not really sure how they're going to test it, but apparently it's already been in the game for some time. They've used it to stop cheaters and people who throw games regularly. It's on its way. The most interesting part about this performance matchmaking thing is the end stuff. If you've been keeping up with us on ITN, you know all of this. We've talked about it multiple times now, but let's skip to the end here. What's really important in this upper part is, once again, they're talking about speed. So they're saying that the new system isn't going to necessarily be more accurate at the start, but if you are currently in an inaccurate area, you'll move faster, particularly on the upwards curve. So on the wins, you'll be receiving more MMR, and eventually, when they launch the secondary system that goes with this, ranked points. So once it comes live, according to language here, it kind of looks like our rank points might not be affected, our hidden MMR will be affected. And then in a later date patch, maybe in this 3-week period, they're going to roll out that tech that makes the personal adjustment now the personal performance. So when this goes live, as of right now, personal adjustment will still be there, and your MMR will be moving at a higher speed, though it won't affect your rank. Should make your games better, though, right? So speed over accuracy. The idea being that if you create a Smurf, you will launch so incredibly fast to your proper playing area that you're not ruining games for other people, so thereby curving a Smurf problem, perhaps. The real nitty-gritty interesting stuff, if you haven't seen the BlizzCon panels, read this stuff about Illidan, read this stuff about Kerrigan. It's interesting. So Illidan, fair amount of damage, soak lots of experience, doesn't die very often, and captures mercenary camps. Those are an example of his 4 sort of criteria to gain extra performance points for himself. If he wins, and having performed in those areas, he will climb faster than an Illidan who won and didn't perform in those areas. If you lose in this system, you don't curve off any... You can never gain points. They're a little unclear about this language, but you can never gain points if you lose. That doesn't mean you don't get points back, though, just like you would if you lost to a team who had a higher MMR than you. So, if you do everything right and your personal performance is amazing, you might catch some points back just like you would in that previous system. You will never, however, lose, but having performed so amazingly, actually get pluses rather than the negative. The negative will always be bigger because you lost, no matter what happens. You can't climb by losing the game. But they go a bit more into this. What is MMR? Well, we should all know that. Updating the right way to play. This is the cool part to me. This is new information. The system is fully dynamic and continually updates itself. So they're using kind of like an AI, but as long as you're winning, you will be performing in the areas that make winners, right? So that's what they're basically banking on here, is that winners are going to win, and the play style that wins the most is the most right style, and the system will update itself to categorize the most right style, because that's what's winning anyway right now. It may take time if the meta's like evolving and changing, but as that new Asmodan not YOLO pushing teamfight style develops, the system will begin to grade Asmodan's hero damage higher than it would his he gotta keep and died for it level, right? And that's kind of the basic of it there. Here they talk about that you will never get points, you'll never be in the positive after losing, which is important to say. Abusing the system, I like this. They're saying that it can't be gamed because the game is to win the game. And if you're winning the game, you game the system. You're like, yes, I cheated it. I showed that system what I had, and you won. Grats, you won. Maybe by playing a little better or in the right way, you might move faster, but ultimately, you're doing what the game wants you to in the first place. You can't abuse it while winning. This was an interesting one. The stats will be compared to the amount of game time. So there's no reason for anybody to pad it out, to farm, to get extra merc camps because they want bonus league points. And that makes sense. And that's probably gauged by how many merc camps can spawn in that amount of time, and taking a 7th rather than a 6th merc camp because it took an extra 60 seconds because the timer had to activate for it. means you get nothing. The community does by playing the game, exactly. So this is that sort of evolving AI. This is interesting too, because I was concerned about this one. What does the system do if a hero has been reworked? And they turn it off, disable. Internally, we won't really know about it. They don't seem to go into how long that takes. Maybe that's during their 2-week period before it, because Alex Strauss is not going to get balanced this week, likely. So they usually take 2 weeks on the new heroes and let them sort of settle before they mess with them, even if they're just wildly broken. That's always been their case, and I think it's fair. So why not just leave it sitting? Plus, the system doesn't even know what makes a winner yet. I'm sure Blizzard has an idea. They made a specialist. Well, he probably has an idea of how he wants to win. So here's the introducing, the language that makes it suggest that while your internal MMR with this change will be moving faster, eventually replace the current personal rank adjustment. So not sure there. So the obvious sort of thing about the personal matchmaking is, you know, don't get too stoked, right? I mean, lots of people seem really excited for this. And you're still playing in your environment, right? If we take a gold player and they're only ever used to playing against gold, when this hits, you're likely not going to have a greater personal performance than you would normally, because that's just where you're used to playing. In fact, it happened this weekend. By the way, if anyone is here from Sunday night's marathon of games, I had a delight playing with you. Sexy Exy was there. I remember that. Bari was there. Lots of you just have names full of consonants, but either way, we had a great time. It was awesome playing with you guys. We had some really fun wins, but I completely threw the game at one point because we were up 3 levels and I invaded their camp. And I was like, ping, 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 let's do this. Aggressive, we're 3 levels up. I got out ahead and I waited. Like, to me, I waited. I went in a bush and I'm like, 1, 2, 3. Here comes ETC. Excellent. Everyone's right behind him, right? And they weren't, because they were enjoying the objective. And so we mixed a bunch of leagues, and I ended up throwing a game because I was more aggressive than the rest of my team was aware, perhaps, that we should be. In fact, I was playing a game with my wife last night, too. We had amazing Murky, controlling the whole map, crushing it. Nobody wanted to end the game because it was fun to take Merc camps for him on Blackheart's Bay. And we're like, Murky he has a finite window that this 3-level lead is making Murky a god. We need to get this done. But they wanted to hang out. They wanted to move slow. They wanted to relax. And that, you know, I'll always remember that night I came home from work, I'm playing Dota, and this guy gets on my case. He's like, you are such a lazy, it was Malfurion, Trident Prophet? I know that much. I called him Malfurion back then anyway. Teleporting global. We didn't know the global word. We didn't know ads or soaking or anything like that. But this guy called me lazy. You're a lazy Malfurion. And I was like, dude, I play this game to relax, chill out. And he's like, this is not a relaxing game. This is a hard game for hardworking people. And that's true, you know? That's the part I'm scared of for a lot of this personal adjustment stuff, that people are going to be lazy, or they're going to continue to play in their current modes, when so much of playing harder is stutter stepping, making immediate decisions when you get a kill, being aggressive. And those are hard work. Those require a certain ampage. And if you're not hungry enough to keep that ball rolling hard, personal adjustment's not going to do much for you. You gotta crush. You gotta just destroy them, you know? It's a hard thing with communicating with bronzes at the end of the day. Sometimes you just go, you know, they're like, what do I need? What should I do? What should I do to get out of bronze? And honest answer is always just like, crush it. Just get in there and just bam. Smash it. Smash it, you know? That's all we want. And they're like, well, I like Brightwing. And you're like, well, maybe that's not decisive enough. Maybe you gotta, you know, get in there and just, you know.